Hello plant people, it's Nora the Leca Queen here. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel. Here we discuss all things indoor plants. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I am going to be rehabbing my Rhaphidophora Decursiva, my dragon tail plant. So I have it here. This is my dragon tail plant. It's pretty bushy. It's living in Leca. I've had this one for quite some time. It was pretty small when I got it. It's doing really well, except for the fact that it has become very leggy. I'll show you what I mean. So it's held onto a moss pole, and there's just vines and vines of it. That's one. That's there. There's another one there, and there's another one there. They're just everywhere, and I'm told that they do tend to get a little bit leggy when they're not exposed to the sun as much. So it will grow in low light, but if there isn't adequate light, it becomes leggy. So I'm told. I don't know. Don't take my word for it. So what I want to do now is just rehab it, make it look a little bit better, and definitely get rid of all that legginess. So what I will be doing is chopping it up and redoing the moss pole and putting it back in its pot. So let's get to it. So this is the plant here attached to its moss pole. Those are the roots, and that is just how viney it is. I could leave it, but I don't want to. So I have got my knife that I have sterilized in advance. That's my knife there. I will then start to chop off the really leggy bits. So I'll probably, with this vine, take it off from here. So I've got my knife, and I will just, right above the node, just there. So I've got this one there. So I'll just cut the vines first, and then I'll deal with them later. So I've got another one here. That's just, very few leaves. So I will chop that one off. There. That's that. And there's actually only two of them. So that is what I end up with as being my main plant. So what will happen actually with the parts where I've actually chopped off that, it will regrow. You'll get another shoot coming off, and that will be fine. So what I will do with this one is, like I said, I really have neglected this plant. As you can see, the roots are looking a little bit sad. This moss pole actually doesn't have a metal rod behind it. I'm going to be honest. This is one of the very first moss poles I ever made, so not really my best work. But, you know, there's room for improvement, and I can still fix it. So what I want to do is, I'll probably open up this pole, and I want to take out some of the moss from the bottom here so that all these roots are not next to the moss. Because when you've got a situation like this where you've got the root system right next to the moss, this moss is always going to be wet, and you risk the roots being exposed to this wet moss for a long time, and you risk root rot with them. So I will take that moss out, and then just rejig this a little bit more. So let's do that. So these are the vines that I've chopped off my plant, and what I want to do is actually propagate them, because I can then put them back in the main pot and I get a much bushier plant. So I will work with the nodes that actually have a leaf already, like that one. So that'll be easy to get going. So I'm looking to see where's the top? So the leaf actually sits like that. So the node would be down there. So I'll chop that off there. And I'll probably leave this one as a 2-leaf one. Chop that off there. So I've got this one. Oh, I thought I had another one. Chop that one off there. And I've got these ones. The leaves have actually started to mature a little bit, so I probably want to keep that one. So I've got that. So I've got this one, and this one. You could actually propagate these as well. They would grow, so you can put them down on some damp sphagnum moss, leave them in a warm, humid place, and they would germinate. But I'm not going to use those because I don't need them. So I'm not even going to bother with that. But I've also got this one, so I want to work with that one. So I'm going to chop that there. And I've got this one. So, oh, there's another one there. Do I want that one? Okay. So these are the cuttings that I've got from my plant. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I will propagate these and we'll put them in my Growth Technology Clonex clone solution until they root, until I've got water roots. When I've got the water roots, I will then put them back in the main pot, and then I will have a big, big bushy plant. Now we will go and rehab the main plant. So this is my main plant over here. And what I want to do is take out some of the moss from the bottom here, because like I said, this was one of my earlier polls, and this is a good way to show you what to not do. You don't want your plant to be too high up so that the roots are in contact with the moss. Root rot is a real thing, people. So I am going to take that moss out. Instead of moving the plant, it's easier for me to take the moss out. So I've just got the plant on its side here, and I've got the cable tie that I used to tie this together, and I will just clip those off so it's easier for me to take the moss out. So I just clip those off, and that opens up. Well, that wasn't clipped off. All right, come here. Clip you off. Clip it off. So that opens up, and I can take that out. So this is very dry moss. This is not ideal, because what is going to happen here is I'm probably going to end up damaging some of the roots that are living in this moss. So like I said, I've just been really, really terrible to this plant, and I know she's very, very hardy and she will forgive me. But yes, that was definitely not ideal what I did. But the other reason I'm doing this is because I know that there hasn't been too much root growth into the pole, so most of the roots are still at the bottom and not inside the moss. So there. So you can see I've now got the moss. I've now got the moss starting there, and my plant roots right at the bottom. I could probably actually take out a bit more over here. You can see that these roots here are right next to that, so I'll take a bit more out. Okay, that is exactly what I want. So the next thing that I'm going to do is actually wash off these roots because they look a bit sad. So I'm just going to wash those off, and if there's any dead roots, have them slough off as well. So we're starting with a totally clean slate. So I'm just going to wash that off now. I'm back. I washed the plant outside. So there's that one over there, and you can see the roots are nice and clean. That is the big one. Lovely clean roots. So there were some dead roots. I probably haven't cleaned this plant since I put it in soil God knows how many months ago. So the roots are nice and clean. They look good. All the dead ones are off, and those roots are happy to live in Leca. So the next thing I'm going to do is, as you can see, this moss pole doesn't have a metal rod behind it. So I'll put a metal rod just to give it that extra support, but I will also get rid of some of that redundant wire mesh that I've now created because I took out the moss from there. So I'm going to do that. So once again, I've got my trusty scissors. So I'm just gonna clip off taking extra care that you don't damage your roots whilst doing that, because that would not be good. So I've taken that off because I don't need that, and my plant now looks like that. So I'm just going to close that off like that. Just pinch the two sides together to make it easier for me to place in the pot. So now I've got my plant on my side, and I will get my metal rod, and what I will do as well is get my pot. This is the pot that the plant is going to go in. So what I want to do is measure how far I need this rod to go in, which is there. Right, so I'm just going to put that cable tie there just to show me what the level was at. Okay, so I'll put that away because I don't need it just yet. And then I know that I now need the top of my pole, of my moss pole, to be there. So this bit of this metal rod is going to be inside the pot. It just helps for me to know where to place the metal pole. So I grab my cable tie and attach that to a moss pole. Okay, can be a bit fiddly. And there. So I'm then going to attach it everywhere else. So that moss pole now has a metal rod attached to the back. The next thing I'm going to do is, remember this one? I am now going to attach this plant to the moss pole. So I position it like so. So these are the roots and they are below the level of the moss. So I've got some plant tie there. Got my plant tie. I am going to just weave that around and avoiding the leaves, because you don't want to snip the leaves while you're doing that. Trust me, I've done it a few times. And there, that is now attached to the pole. So this is now my plant, my Decursiva. I've chopped off all the leggy bits. That's what that looks like now. Chopped off all the leggy bits. I have attached a metal rod to the back of it and also attached one of the pieces of the plant to the pole, washed off the roots, made sure that got rid of all the dead ones, roots are all nice and clean, and I'm now going to put it back in the pot that it was living in. So it's living in a 20 centimeter pot. So that's the pot there. I've had an opportunity to just wash that off and I'm going to put it back in. So I've got my pot there and I've got my leca here. I am going to put some of the leca into the pot before I put the plant in. Now I've got the pot sitting inside that because this pot actually has these little holes here, and unfortunately the leca comes out. Depending on the size of the leca, it can actually come out of there. So it can be rather annoying to have bits of leca flying all over the place. So hence I keep it in that when I'm putting it up. So just pour to about a third of the way of the pot. So just about that much there. And then I'll grab my plant and I will put that there. So that's what that looks like. So that moss is not touching the leca, it's way up there and the roots are inside. So I am now going to fill this up with leca, which is easier said than it sounds. I'll turn this around. That's a bit better because I am right-handed. So that plant has now been potted up. I've got leca at the back there, I've got leca at the front, the roots are inside. So this is my Decursiva, that's my dragon tail plant, and it is looking glorious. It looks so much better than what it looked like before. The moss pole is secure. The roots, I'm pretty sure, are very happy. I am now going to moisten that moss pole, put my nutrient solution in the reservoir and put this plant in a very, very bright spot and hope that it doesn't get leggy again. And when those propagations have developed water roots, I will put them back in that pot and it is going to be glorious. Well, thank you so much for sticking with me today. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to please like, share and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.